Hi, my name is Dr. Karen Can. I'm a medical doctor and a doctor of light medicine, and the founder of the Topican Healing Method and the Academy of Light Medicine. So, there's a lot of things on the news right now, even if you're on Facebook and not watching the news. You might be noticing things about rioting, black versus white, racism, police brutality. And in this short video, I'm going to share with you my perspective on how so much of what we're seeing right now is a form of manipulation, a very well planned manipulation as well. So, what I'm going to do is kind of pick apart how you can tell that the masses are being manipulated or attempts being made for the masses to be manipulated so that you can know for yourself and for the well being of your family, so you can have a joyful, happy, and safe life, how you can tell whether things are being manipulated and how you can actually know what is divine truth for you. So, one of the things that happens, especially when there is, let's just say, more peace in the world, more love in the world, which is where we're going, really. I don't think that it's sort of like a fast moving train that can't be stopped, but there are powers that be or folks that wish to derail that love train, so to speak. And how that happens is that when those that do not want that love train to continue on its path, and they notice that there is way too much peace or calm in the world, some fear comes in, and the fear pretty much is like, oh my gosh, people are getting, relax. People are not in fear anymore. We got to do something. We have to do something because we're going to lose this war. And here's the thing is that, the war is kind of an illusion anyway, dark versus light, evil versus good, things like that. But, everyone plays their role. And so the people that want you to be manipulated not in your strength and your power will start to pull your attention away or try to manipulate you by putting your attention on what they want you to pay attention to. So if you notice violence, if you notice something that's very, very sad in the news, scary, it's not to say that some of it isn't true, but just keep in mind that we don't always know the full truth. In fact, most of the time we don't know the full truth of what's going on. Most of the time we assume that this is some sort of spontaneous event, whereas it's possibly planned. For example, my uncle in Hong Kong said that the rioters in Hong Kong, that people were being paid to riot and break things, whereas the demonstration started peaceful, so supposedly, right, with all the students and things like that. It didn't really make any sense to me why they would go to violence, because educated, people, unless they're easily manipulated, will realize that they will not have the populace side with them if they go into violence. Really, it's the opposite, right? So if they want people to side with them, they need to be peaceful. They need to be like, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, like Gandhi. However, if they are perceived as being violent, then whatever they stand for is also being perceived as, not worth backing or not worth putting energy towards, not believing in them. So my uncle told me in Hong Kong that if you were willing to protest and do some violent things, you would get a certain amount of money. And if you were actually put in jail for that, you would get even more money. So there is a specific manipulation that's going on. It's very hard to trace who is actually paying who. Things are very hidden. So one of the first things to know is that your attention is going to be manipulated and taken away from what the powers that be know is um, is more powerful than their manipulation. If you pay attention to what it is you desire to manifest and you keep your attention on that, then we know through the laws of attraction and through the quantum reality and quantum jumping is where your attention flows, energy goes, and results actually show. It may not be overnight. Well, if it's overnight, you could, or in a blink of an eye, you could think of a pink elephant. A pink elephant would land in your living room, right? Well, it doesn't work that way in our reality, at least not just yet. So watch for that. Where's your attention going? So the other thing that happens with manipulation is separation. So separation means, me versus them, something outside of me. We know from the quantum reality that we are all connected through this quantum, seemingly invisible energy. But when you look through the new specialized telescopes that see energy, you'll see that all the planets and galaxies are connected through this light web. It is not separate. There is no space between you and me. There is no space really uh, between me and the chair that I'm sitting on. Or you could argue it's all space. There's so much space, okay? But in that invisible space, there is a connection. There is a quantum connection. It's sort of like, how do you separate one drop in the ocean from another drop in the ocean? You could somehow, get a dropper and then pick it up, I suppose. But at the end of the day, we are all that one. So what our attention is, where it flows, actually makes a difference for the rest of the world. So watch out for that. That tendency to see me versus you, them versus us. Okay, that's a form of separation, and that is actually an illusion. But that's part of the manipulation, is to get you back into that place of separation. Even if you're a yogi, even if you're, meditate every day, even if you're a high consciousness person or high vibe person or want to be, this will be very tempting because some on some level there is an addiction to being right, and that's one of the worst addictions that we can have. Forget about addictions to cocaine and alcohol and porn and all that kind of stuff. The addiction to being right and righteous, I'm better than you, that kind of thing, is kind of built into our society, unfortunately. So what else? Else you see in manipulation? You see distraction. So it's sort of like the best magicians may not actually do magic, but what they do is they distract you somehow through their body language, through their eyes, through their voice, so that you are not looking in the place where they are doing their trick. So watch out for distraction. So, for example, as in the US years ago, President Obama was doing a whole speech for the whole nation about the Ebola virus and how it's going to kill so many people, et cetera, et cetera. As that was happening, everyone running to the TV watching this, I get an email because I refuse to do it. I refuse to watch it. I get an email from one of these whistleblowers, watchdog um, uh, associations that I'm on their email list, and they said this is a very sad day because the Environmental Protection Agency just approved the use of a derivative of Agent Orange, which is a terrible toxin, in our food, as a pesticide herbicide. And I cried that day, I remember, but it really hit home how this distraction works. So when we are being distracted by violence on TV, da 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 da, what else is going on? When we're distracted by, COVID-19 in 2020, what else is going on? Oh, there are 5G towers being erected without anyone's, town's approval necessarily. Very few people get to decide that. The average population, the community, did not get to decide that, did not get to weigh the benefits and the risks of that, right? So this installation occurs while you are so worried and concerned about COVID-19. So that's an example of distraction. What else is manipulation? Well, polarization. Okay, we talked a little bit about separation, right? Me versus you, them versus us. Polarization is like good and evil. And this has that addiction to righteousness in there as well, factored in. And what you'll see in the news is they want people, good, nice people, okay, who are not evil. They want to polarize you against each other. So that could be Democrat versus Republicans, liberal versus conservatives, gun owners versus, people that think that guns should be banned. Um, Racism is another polarization. Let's see what other themes are there. Well, there's obviously, country versus country, Russia versus US, or sorry, should be nowadays, as of this recording, China versus US. Okay, so communist versus capitalist. What else is there? Well, so recently in the news, um, police brutality, right? So again, it's this polarization going on, and when you get to that place where you're not being manipulated and you realize when they are attempting to manipulate you, okay, just remember that there is we are part of them. There is some energy still within us that is co-creating this reality for us to grow, for us to evolve, things like that. So be careful about hating or being angry at the other, because remember, the other is an aspect of ourselves manifest, right? An aspect that we're healing. So the polarization, watch out for that. So when you start arguing with your neighbor, your friends, your family, and they're trying to convince you of something, you're trying to convince them of something, and they're not listening to you and they don't get it, and that righteousness, take a step back, because that is how the manipulation works, and that is how that gotcha, that's when that happens. So if these are the ways that we are being manipulated through our attention, polarization, distraction, separation, and addiction, what's the other side of that? How can we get above that? Well, one of the things is discernment. Now, there's various different ways of discernment, but the best way is really getting to know you, your energy, your frequency, your vibration internally. I teach something called stillness through observing internal movement. Now, there's different ways of going to stillness. I'm not one for really, sitting meditation for 30, 60, or 40 minutes at a time. I do the stillness on the fly. So, but when you get to know your internal vibration, your home frequency, what'll happen is that you'll be able, with that feeling within, knowing who you are, you'll be able to discern what resonates, what doesn't resonate, and you won't be so easily caught up in the manipulation, the attention, the distraction, separation, etc. So make sure you have a really good way of discernment. People call that intuition as well. A lot of people don't know how to access that intuition. I teach, divine muscle testing as kind of like training wheels for divine knowing. And it's a great tool, to use. So if you don't have a good discernment tool, learn one. What else can we do? Well, dissolution, meaning dissolution of that separation, that falsity of separation. We really are one in the quantum realm. So use that knowledge to dissolve those illusions of separation and make a choice that whatever is not you, whatever is not for your highest and greatest good, you can call on your helpers, to help you dissolve it as well, whether that be your guardian angels, God, spirit team, whatever, creator, whoever you call them. They can help you dissolve that which does not serve you. What else can we do? Direction. Here's the thing. If you are not going in the direction of your soul mission and taking action based on your soul needs, so to speak, it'll be easy to kind of redirect your attention elsewhere. However, if you have that bigger mission, you have that direction, you know where you are going, and you know that there will be attempts to manipulate you, to distract you, okay? But if you know what that direction is, you're going to much less likely be manipulated by something seemingly outside of ourselves. And lastly, this has to do with your soul mission as well, your destiny. At the end of the day, it's really about your evolution. You are a fractal of Source Creator, just like I am a fractal. It's like Source having different experiences. You are not your body. You are not this lifetime. And sometimes we choose to have certain seemingly stressful things happen in our reality so we can experience a contrast between chaos and peace. And just as a hint, whatever we wish to experience often has a contrast in our outer life so that we can develop and understand through our inner life how to create the experiences for ourselves. So the outer world does not create our experience. We don't react to our outer world experience. We create from our inner experience. So if your soul experience was to learn what it feels like to be compassionate in a human body, in this timeline, right? So part of that destiny is maybe experiencing things where you didn't have compassion either for yourself or other people didn't have compassion for you, but then you get a contrast and then you know, oh, when you learn to have self-compassion, you know what that feels like. It's sort of like if we took an alien from another world where they had one temperature and we ask them what does cold feel like, well, they don't really know what cold and hot are. They just have one temperature, right? So then you have to give them the contrast. Well, this is hot, and you give them an example of hot, and this is cold, right? So they know the difference between the two. So your destiny includes choice. What do you choose to focus your attention on? And in this way, when we can discern, when we dissolve things that no longer serve us, when we are in the direction of our soul mission, when we're in the direction of our soul destiny, then we can really connect with divine truth. Not just our truth, but divine truth. And then we would be impervious to manipulation. Is this a black and white thing and it happens all at once? No, not necessarily. It's a road. Just like if you're an Olympic athlete, you don't wake up one day and all of a sudden be able to run, a 4-minute mile, right? Like it takes some training. You might be better at certain things than others, of course. That's part of your fractal choice of being in this timeline, in this body at this time to experience things. But the divine truth is what's really, going on in the heart of heart. So in order to get to that place, these are some of the skill sets that are good. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that the next attempt, because there will be one until which time we no longer needed it as far as humanity's evolution, the next time that there is an attempted manipulation on you, my intention is for you to be able to go, aha, yeah, gotcha. I know what you're doing. And you're going to say, you're not going to take my attention away from what really matters. You're not going to polarize me the way you want me to polarize. You're not going to separate me and you're not going to distract me. And I know you're just a challenge that I'm challenged within myself because we are all one, right? So that I can get even better at and evolve my discernment, my direction, my ability to dissolve and reach my destiny. So if you need help with some of these things, feel free to connect with me. I have Facebook group, Light Warrior Network. You can check it out at lightwarriornetwork.com, or you can just connect with me at karencan.com. Lots of love and all the best to you.